our infertility Q&A. You guys left questions on our video a couple days ago. If you haven't seen that, you can go back and watch. I give kind of an explanation of what has brought us to this point of our IVF journey, but I know there's still some questions after that, so I figured I'd jump on here and answer a couple of them, and I'm gonna have Philip go over here to answer a couple of them too. So how much is IVF? I'm sure it depends state to state. Ballpark, it's around $10,000 for the egg retrieval and maybe $3,000 per each transfer. And then there's meds on top of that for each of those, kind of that ballpark range. When you have no more embryos, will you do another retrieval? That is a great question. We forever said absolutely not, we wouldn't. We were just gonna do this one and done. But I feel like with everything, you don't know until you're in that situation. So I guess we have to just wait and see. Okay, this question is asking about insurance coverage for IVF. Yeah, there's practically none. Unless you work for a large corporation, there are some amazing insurances that I've heard about. Yeah, but you pretty much have to work for a big company that has that kind of coverage. Yes. Most of the cases, you will not have coverage. But there are Fortune 500 companies that do have amazing, amazing benefits when it comes to infertility. There are 2 programs that you can apply for discounts on medication. And I need to look those up. I will leave them right here on the screen. We have them somewhere in our notes, but we don't have those notes on our phone. So you will know them right here on the screen, what they are called. Yeah. And those are 2 programs that you can apply for to get discount. And if you guys, as always, like, we love that we have a community here and it's not just about us, but if you guys have anything to like chime into, please leave in the comments below. And then also, we might be able to help others with some of the Love Multiplies information in specific videos about that. So the more information that you know, because we said that's gonna be live. Yes, it's gonna be live probably by the time you guys see this. So go check those out. We'll also have a link right here and right here, here, and here. Okay, this is asking about the recurrent loss panel. So that is something, usually it's once you've had 3 miscarriages or there's some factor that a doctor would see it necessary, but they check you for a whole, I think it's 12 tests, and they're pretty much checking for clotting issues. So MTHFR is on there, which I have, and factor V Leiden is on there, which I have, and then there's a whole bunch of other ones that are other clotting issues, which I do not have. Okay, this is a great question. This question is pretty much asking about fighting with your spouse during the process of infertility, because it is very stressful and it is very easy to get on the wrong page, or on different pages, not wrong, different pages. Most men that I've come around and have connected with are probably more on the side of, if it happens, it happens. And I think we have to, at least I had to, really, really, really check myself and my heart on a daily basis, because it was daily, where I wanted to say to Alex, it's okay, let's rest, let's take a break, let's not push forward, we don't need to do research now. All of that stuff that I would say to her, which wasn't what she needed to hear. She needed me to go, Alex, I'm so sorry, here. I love you, I'm here, how can we do this together? Just remember, you were on the same team. Yeah. You are not each other's enemies. No. You are each other's partner. And if you don't know how to deal with your spouse's pain, then that is an awesome, awesome moment to go, wow, I'm not feeling heard. I need you to sit down and I need to talk about this, because I'm feeling A, I need you to do B, and let's together do C. Sometimes you just need to like grab hold of each other and give each other a hug and fight naked and see what happens after that. Oh my gosh. Oh lordy. So this question is again asking us about using a surrogate. I explained this in a couple videos ago about what brought us to this point of IVF journey, but just to reiterate, so for me personally, experiencing pregnancy, it is not the end all be all for us to have a biological child together. So it's not that I really want a child that is biologically ours. It was that I would love to experience pregnancy and kind of have that experience of kind of bonding with baby and delivering and nursing, but using a surrogate wouldn't necessarily be our route that we would go on. If I wasn't able to get pregnant, we would be happily moving forward with adoption. Would you consider embryo adoption? I guess it's always on the table of something that we will talk about. Next question, how long did you try to conceive naturally before you thought something might be wrong? So for us, it was probably right before a year, maybe after 6 months, I was like, why is this taking so long? And that's true. If it takes longer than 12 months, that's technically infertility. It shouldn't take longer than 12 months. Some people are lucky and they get pregnant at maybe 18 months, but that is not the norm. Okay, next question. Would you consider pausing IVF after this transfer to adopt again? Heck yes. Would you ever adopt again? Heck yes, again. Did your endometriosis cause you to have low AMH, low egg reserve? I did not have that struggle. If you were to become pregnant, then shortly after be asked to adopt again, would you still consider adopting while pregnant?
Probably.
Yes. Yeah, we would.
We're just crazy enough that we probably would.
Yeah. Multiple people asked me if I would consider adopting even if I was pregnant. And so.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know of a situation that we wouldn't adopt if the situation came to us.
Mm-hmm. If the situation was right and
I couldn't imagine saying no.
As a Christian, how did you decide on IVF from an ethical point of view in line with your beliefs? This is a big one, big question to answer in a short video.
Mm-hmm. Which definitely warrants a larger video. Mm-hmm. But
we were against IVF for a really long time.
Why?
We were uncomfortable with it ethically.
I was uncomfortable with it financially.
Yeah. And I think when I did a bunch more research and discovered that I don't have to fertilize every single egg that is retrieved, and I can make a certain amount of embryos to the point that I felt like I could use each one and not discard them, mm-hmm. Then I was comfortable with it. So we decided we were going to fertilize 10 eggs, and lucky enough that is the amount of eggs that we got from our retrieval, mm-hmm. and we ended up with 6 embryos. Now for us, if all 6 became children, we were happy with that, but I know that's not everybody.
Yeah. We do believe, unashamedly, that life begins in conception, and so the moment that the egg is fertilized, we do consider that a life. For us, it was more so we didn't want to create so many embryos that we wouldn't practically use. Mm-hmm. I've heard of many families that would say that they would only fertilize 1 or 2 at a time, that they were going to use immediately, and mm-hmm. some don't freeze it, and some do freeze, mm-hmm. and some
have 20 by the end of it, and then they can either choose
embryo adoption or anything like that.
Or they discard, or you donate to science. That's just the reality of IVF. You have to literally sign paperwork when you do IVF of what
happens if your spouse passes away, what would you do with these embryos, all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's something that you have to be comfortable with. Same thing with genetic testing. That's another question we get asked a lot is, why didn't you genetically test? And for us, we weren't comfortable with it. I answered this in a video a couple times ago, but with genetic testing, we would not discard if we found out that it was a genetically abnormal child that was compatible with life. And so, we just didn't want to go into that pregnancy knowing that.
I don't think it would have changed our decision to implant or not, whether it was genetically abnormal.
And you can actually lose embryos in the genetic testing process. Okay, this is off topic of infertility. Did you name your daughters, or did birth mom?
We get asked every video.
Every video. So you are going to have to go over and subscribe to my channel, because that video will either be live by the time this video is out, or will be coming very soon.
Quite a tease, my lady.
Very much a tease.
You're very teasy tonight.
That is a question we get asked all the time, so I'm gonna make a whole video all on that.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful story.
What is the surgery you're having before your transfer? We just posted that video a couple of videos ago.
Go there, there's the card.
Yes.
Or there.
I don't know whichever corner.
I'm not sure how it flips when it edits, but probably there.
But yes, hysteroscopy. Okay, what is the reason we are only transferring 1 embryo at a time?
She wants a lot of babies, and she doesn't want twins.
I don't want twins. As a NICU nurse, my desire is not to have twins. Let's come a little bit closer, because we're going out of focus.
How about you get closer? My head's so big that I can sit back and it's the same size.
Okay. So as a NICU nurse, it's not my first desire to have twins. I was excited when we found out that our last embryo split into what would have been identical twins. So I'm excited if that was the case, but I'm not gonna proactively seek out having twins by implanting 2.
I would totally do it.
Philip wants me to do 2. We have 3 left, so it's kind of, 1 has to be a singleton anyways.
Ultimately, I leave that decision up to Alex, because it's not my body that's handling a 30-pound weight gain or a 60-pound weight gain. And I know that you're gonna comment down below and you're gonna go, it's not actually that. I got it, Philip. But let's be real here. It's not my body, and I'm gonna let her make that decision.
Mm-hmm. I love the way this is phrased. So the sperm is not from Phil?
The sperm is definitely mine.
Yeah. And the egg is definitely mine.
Those sperms are mine, those eggs are hers.
Do you have any words of wisdom for starting infertility? Right now I'm struggling with starting it. Most people say they are optimistic when they start, but I'm having a hard time.
I really feel very strongly and convicted about this belief. I don't believe you should jump into any infertility treatment whatsoever until you and your spouse are on the same page. Like,
and have peace about it together.
I think that is the most critical piece about infertility treatments. You cannot and should not go into it without being on the same page and being unified as one. The journey is long and treacherous and hard and emotional. And there are so many elements to an infertility journey. We have experienced most of them. And I will tell you, my marriage became better because we had a solid foundation. If you walk into infertility treatments with a rocky foundation, it will destroy you. And
you will have a rocky foundation if you are dragging the other person along.
And so there are a lot of questions that eventually...
And it's the same thing with adoption.
Oh, for sure.
You cannot drag the other person in.
I wouldn't adopt with a spouse that wasn't on the same page as me either. Love Multiplies, and what we want to do there with our nonprofit is really bring the education that is specific to these questions
and where
at a later time, and really talk about how to actually get through that, not just state it like we were stating now. Literally how to walk through that, how to disciple couples, how to
He's gonna be really good, guys. You're not going to want to miss one video.
To guide people through that process on a fundamental and spiritual and emotional principle. I think there's so much there. I think there's books that we need to write about that, because I think that topic is fundamentally just ignored, and it is a passion point of mine. I love building strong marriages, and I love building strong couples, and I think you have to have a strong couple before you have a strong family unit.
Mic dropped. I might as well not even ask another question. Yes. Would you consider a fresh transfer to up your odds, since you've only done frozen embryo transfer?
We've done fresh transfers that don't work.
So we've never done a fresh transfer.
We did. IUI.
No, that's not what it is.
My legs are, oh my gosh, I can't feel them.
Just sit, crisscross applesauce, just so you can be
in. They're numb.
Come sit here, please.
They're numb.
Please, you can't jump out of this.
I can't, I literally feel like, no, needles. Stop.
Just come.
Stop, ouch.
Okay, just sit there. Okay.
Do you ever sit on your legs or your hands and it becomes numb and it feels like someone's stabbing you?
So we did not do a fresh transfer because it was not recommended by our doctor. It actually has a lower success rate than a frozen transfer.
How on earth? That shocked me.
Because you have just finished your stimulation a couple days before, and your estrogen and progesterone, like everything is through the roof. And so therefore your body is like at 3 times higher than it should be, or 10 times higher than it should be when you're at that phase of your cycle. And so that's why it's not as high, but some people will still do that because certain diagnoses, your personal best chance might be with a fresh transfer. So
oh Lord, stabbing needles. I'm not even
I need you in for this one.
Not even exaggerating.
Drama. What is an IUI? It's an intrauterine insemination. We did that before IVF. That's where you drop the sperm off in the uterus to get it a little bit closer, and it does work for a lot of people. After this upcoming transfer, if it's successful, what will happen to the next 2 embryos? We will be using them later then, and I really hope we can put those 2 on hold for a couple of years. That would be great. Why don't you transfer 2? Great question. It doesn't actually increase your odds by that much. It increases it by a couple of %. That's something you just have to talk with your doctor about. In certain circumstances, probably to where we are at, we might be considering 2, I don't know. But we wanted to give each embryo a chance by itself, and I really didn't want to have twins.
That's it right there. I wouldn't mind.
This question is about acupuncture and infertility. Do you still go? I will be once we start our transfer. How did you handle emotions of realizing that pregnancy isn't going to come easily?
You can answer this. I think
you've got it.
I think I watched you go through it, so I think I have a different perspective on it, which is I saw Alex circle around the wagon of her community and say, mamas, I need help. I need help, and I want to become a mama, and you are a mama, and I need you to pray for me. And I think she was willing to go to the hardest place that she desperately feared facing. And I think it took all of her strength to go there. But I think what she was rewarded with was a community of women that were here the day of, and the moment that we brought Kinsley home, Callie home, and got pregnant. And it was everything that we say in every single video. There's a purpose for your pain, and that purpose is to build community, and that community is gonna help you change the world and be there for you on your ups and your downs, your highs, your lows.
And you're gonna be there for them on their highs and lows.
That's it. And you're gonna be there for them when they had hit rock bottom too.
Have you mentioned the grading of your embryos?
Let's just say the grading of our embryos was better than the grades I got in high school.
So I don't know the exact grades of all 6 of the embryos. So the grades of all 6 embryos were A's, AB's, like the 3s and the 4, you know, they pretty much were all in the good category. So that's not really, but my doctor says you can't look at the grading to see for success rates. She's had okay embryo grading that do great. She's had perfect looking embryos that don't do well. So that's not exactly the #1 thing you need to look at. Of course, if it was poor quality, that's a whole nother ball game.
And that's that.
And that's that. Thank you guys for watching our infertility Q&A. I'm sure you have a bunch more questions. If you have more questions, leave them in the comments below. This is going to be a long month going into IVF. I'm sure we'll sit down and do a Q&A if a bunch of questions come in. But hopefully that answered some things. If you have more questions on infertility or adoption, go ahead and check out our nonprofit Love Multiplies YouTube channel. Leave some questions there. We'll do more sit downs, really in-depth stuff over there. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys in our next video.
Go let your love multiply.
Good night, guys.
Good night.